And so I took these errors and I pointed them out to our curriculum director. And she got back to me and she said, we're just teaching the Minnesota State standards. And so I went through the standards, and here they are. And they infer evolutionary relationships, all that stuff. They always point to evolution. And yet the students are supposed to be able to read and interpret multiple sources to obtain information. Well, they aren't giving them multiple viewpoints in that textbooks. They're just pounding that blind chance perspective down their throat. And I've offered to teach, show them the hydroplate. They're not interested. And then also that prove that the process of evolution primarily results from 4 factors: reproduction from a species, heritable genetic variation. This is just variation within a kind. Increased survival and reproduction. This is variation within a kind. This is not evolution. And then the common ancestry and biological evolution are supported by multiple lines of empirical evidence if you give them false information for that empirical evidence. It's not supported by that. And cosmic designer, that they don't let them think about that. And the fossil record that documents the existence, diversity, extinction, and change of life forms. Again, that's the sign of a flood. And if this is all kids learn is a blind chance perspective, all they do is memorize. They don't think. And I meet so many students at St. Cloud State, they know what to believe, or they know what to think, but they don't know how to think. And if I do find somebody who can actually think, I say, well, where'd you go to school? And 95% of the time, what do you think that is? Homeschooled. You're right. And anyhow, and then they got the thermal convection cycles. That's the standard they have to teach, even though it violates the crossover density. And then you got the stars that produce our elements. Again, that's never been observed. They got natural selection instead of continuous environmental tracking or the epigenetics. And then they got the time scale, the geologic time scale, all those millions of years that all have fossils that were all buried rapidly but supports millions of years somehow. And then they've got rise in global temperature, hit that a few times. A warning climate impacts the hydrosphere, the geosphere, the biosphere, and the atmosphere. And then you got to pound climate change again and be afraid, be very afraid. And then you got to have the Big Bang coming from nothing. Construct an explanation that links astronomical evidence for the Big Bang, not a creator. And then the Earth's formation again, and from meteorites and other things, and that breaks the aggregation problem. They got problems with that. And so I contacted the curriculum director and I asked, well, what standard says we're 1.6% different from chimpanzees? And she didn't answer the question, but the school board or the superintendent emailed me and said, we're in the process of reviewing your concern and our response are they contacting the publisher so they can take down the false information? No, they're contacting response with our district's law firm. What do you have to go contact a law firm for bad information? And so I thought, well, they're not doing anything. So I went to the school board meeting, and this is what I said. None of the school board contacted me, so I emailed every one of them and asked them, did this get discussed, and what action was taken? And I got this from one of them, and they said, the superintendent let us know that you've been working on it with the curriculum director. It's like, well, if they were working with me, I wouldn't have to go to the school board meeting. And then I got another email back, and it's the exact same paragraph of what somebody else did. And it says, Dear Mr. Lauer, blah, 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 over the past months of your communication, Director so-and-so has reviewed your concerns carefully and also passed them along for review to our science lead teacher. We have prepared a response which is being reviewed by the legal counsel as Superintendent so-and-so shared with you. And just, it starts out over the past months and it ends shared with you. Look at this paragraph from somebody else. It's identical. They're getting the talking points, and so it's like, well, they're not going to do anything. So I went back 2 weeks later, and this is what I said. Yeah, I emailed the curriculum director and I asked her if that video was still up because
Would anybody else like to participate?
Because I don't have any access to the books anymore. And then I asked her if the teachers have been informed not to use it, and if not, why not? And she never responded. But I got something from the superintendent the next day, and it says basically that this concern has been resolved. They're considering it resolved, keeping the errors in the textbooks. And then they did a bunch of word salads saying stuff, and that's despicable. I just can't imagine that. And they say that, well, kids can consider multiple options, multiple viewpoints, but they're not in the textbooks. It's just a blind chance perspective. The people in charge don't want things to change because they got the power. And we've seen this happen in history. But Walt Brown says, widespread belief systems seldom change when frequently reinforced by influential institutions such as universities, media, religious institutions, and scientific and intellectual elite. Yeah, they don't want things to change. They got the power. But when a vast number of people realize they've been misled, an intellectual revolution begins. That's what I'm trying to do. Get a vast number of people to realize, hey, the emperor has no clothes. I'm not playing that game anymore. There's no evidence for evolution.